I'd like to share with you a recent conversation I had with somebody who's experiencing the benefits of turning within. The way that he's describing it and the way that he is using his words and his hand gestures are very similar to how I experienced turning within. And I go over what is actually changing in self-inquiry, because something has to change. And what that change is, it's the dissolution of ego into the infinite. And that is an experience, it's an objective experience into a non-objective experience of the infinite. But where he really needs the help, and it's really a great place to be to need this help, is he really wants reassurance that what he is experiencing is quote unquote it. And it makes sense because we can't know ourself, the inner workings with our mind, because our mind isn't there when we get there. So it's hard to describe these experiences with words. So it's in these interactions, one-on-ones or satsangs or retreats, where you start to hear like familiarities like, oh, that's what I'm experiencing. And okay, I am on the right track. I am on the right message. So this is just a sharing of somebody else who is experiencing the wonderful benefits of dissolving their mind into their heart. And you can see it on the smile on his face. Take care.
The distinct experience of, that's the only way to say it. It felt like my head or mind was like physically melting into my heart, which was a very, very nice feeling. It felt like, like this was just disappearing, becoming vacuum or gaseous, and the center was sinking.
Yes. Whatever it is you're doing, just keep doing it, because you're describing this a lot like I describe it. Right? Because something is changing. Something has to change in all of this. Right? What is that change? It's the dissolving of the sense of me, of the sense of individualism. Because being is permanent. It has no change. It doesn't fluctuate. It doesn't move. It doesn't vibrate. It is. So what's the change? It's the experience of being a person is dissolving. That sense of I, that sense of me, by you doing this, is how I describe it. Because that's, your mind is dropping into your heart. That's absolutely it. And it's having your attention go with it. And then holding your attention there as long as you can, which is, again, it's a non-objective experience. There's nothing physical to hold on to there. But that is it. Because attention is a focusing of awareness. So you could say that as your attention is focusing on the dissolving of the self, of this subtle movement that you're describing, your attention is following this movement back to self and resting in itself. Right? You could say that attention is out here. It's moved away from itself. We'll call this itself, being. Attention is moved away from itself to attend to this movement. Okay, so it's watching this movement come back to its source, which is this. So what it's doing is that movement drops into your heart. Attention drops into the heart too, which is itself.
Which is
itself.
Uh-huh.
Right? So being, consciousness, existence, awareness, they're all synonymous terms.
Mm-hmm.
So as I don't have enough hands to do all this at once, but as this subtle movement, like what you're talking about, is happening, that means you're in a really good spot to feel those subtle internal movements. As that's moving, your attention is following that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Another way you could say it is, as it's as it's dissolving, this is coming back and resting in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's saying, like, you could view it as it's turning back into itself and resting in itself, or it's like a telescoping back in. I mean, however you experience it and want to put words on it. But this right here is self-realization.
Mm-hmm.
When awareness rests in itself.
Mm-hmm.
When being rests in and as itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. I feel sad. Or at least part of me feels sad. Also very calm, but sad. Because it feels like something like I'm realizing that I am not what I thought I was.
Yes. And this is good.
there's a sense of grief that comes along with it, I guess. Like there's the it's so strange because it's almost it's how you said, like one foot here, one foot there. It's like from the former perspective, it's like, oh, maybe I never was what I thought I was. Maybe I didn't exist at all. And that feels very sad. And then from the other perspective, I don't super feel it. I kind of sense how it would be, I think. But there's a sense of like freedom and expanse, right? It's not tight. It's like,
yes.
all of this, right? Yes, which finally feels like it has more than enough space to fill the grief of the grieving part. But still, it's hard. Yeah.
So, what is happening is that your ego is realizing that you've discovered the truth for real. It's been masquerading as the truth. And so it will play the game to get you to not turn your attention to yourself. And depending on our conditioning, it plays the game in different ways. So you're experiencing sadness. That's it. That's ego trying to make sure that Vasco never knows himself.
Mm-hmm.
So now this is when you start to get on top of the ego and see how it works. This is just the ego being the ego. And because this is non-duality, we just let everything be as it is. We don't deny reality. We don't deny the sadness. We just realize that it's an attempt from our egoic mind to keep us away from our infinite self. And so these movements of sadness and grief are nothing other than gifts. They're gifts to remind you of your infinite self. Because anytime one of these comes up, you're like, oh, it's just the ego being the ego, and now I know how the ego works. This is a reminder from my ego to turn within. to turn back in. Because every time that you recognize a movement away from yourself, and like sadness or grief or anything else that's going to throw at you, when you recognize that and turn within, it lowers that movement. So sadness was big, and then over time it just shrinks. And sadness goes away. And you didn't do it. The ego does not do getting rid of sadness. How that happened is you've turned your attention here, and it's doing the work. This does all the work. That's why I said earlier, my job, if I say I have a job in all this, and the whole reason I do everything that I do with books and videos is to get you to turn your attention here, because you'll realize soon, which you already have, you just haven't recognized that. You haven't given yourself permission yet for that to be the truth, but it's really close. That this is the only thing that's going to solve any problem. It will carry every load. It will carry every burden. It will carry you, because it already is carrying you. So, yes, I feel sadness and grief because who am I? Well, the thing is you will always be you. These uniquenesses that come
right,
through
you were never not you, sure.
Right, these uniquenesses that come through you, they're going to come through you.
Yeah.
It will just get rid of the chatter in your mind that says what's coming through sucks. That's what it gets rid of. And then what comes through is pure and beautiful, and you fall in love with yourself again. Because there isn't anything up here saying that this is wrong. It could be better. And you realize, I can't not be me if I tried. And that's just, the profound way of saying that is you come back in line with reality. As reality is manifesting, you're right here in line with it as it's manifesting. And that's peace.